That's how a great falling away happens. 1 Timothy 4, he says this. 1 Timothy 4, it says, "But the Spirit explicitly says that in latter times some will fall away from the faith, paying attention to deceitful spirits and teachings of demons." And we're living in this right now. So this video is for those who are struggling in your faith, struggling in your relationship with God, dealing with, thoughts of, is it worth it? Is God real? Does he care? Should I just give up on this whole Christianity thing altogether? If you are in that place, or you know someone in that place, this video is for you. Because reality is, our faith journey with Jesus is hard. And the older that I get, the longer I'm a Christian, the more life that I live, the more you realize how hard our faith journey is. And I know sometimes when you hear different pastors or, preachers, talk about coming to Jesus, and it's always this positive stuff's gonna happen for you. And don't get me wrong, like, I've experienced a lot of amazing things with God, had amazing times with God, felt his love, felt his presence. I've had encounters with him. That's all. It's amazing. But our walk with God requires something that I don't think a lot of, at least modern day pastors, talk about, and that's perseverance, being steadfast. And I've just seen this recent trend over the last number of years where people have deconstructed from their faith. They've walked away from God, walked away from Christianity for whatever reason. There's 10,000 reasons that they will tell you why they did that. But regardless of the reasons, the point is they walked away. Why? Because it's hard. You see, Jesus said it this way in Matthew chapter 7. Verses 13 and 14, he says, "Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few." And so he relates our journey with God as to like two roads, two paths. One is wide, and it's the path that, if you're coming at this from a Christian point of view, a Christian worldview, it's like every single option out there, every worldview, every perspective, whether it's Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, atheism, agnosticism, whatever, some amalgamation of all of them into one. That's the broad way, and many find it. And there is the one road called the narrow way, and Jesus says it's hard and few find it. That means it's hard. And when you read through especially the New Testament, you see this theme woven throughout, where it's those who endure to the end will be saved. Talks about this enduring faith. Jesus said when he was, I think it was the parable of that parable about prayer, where there was that persistent woman who kept going to the king, pleading her case over and over and over again, and just annoyed the crap out of the king. And he finally relented and answered her request. The purpose of the parable is to be persistent in prayer. But at the very end of that parable, Jesus, he says this statement. He says, when the Son of Man returns, will he find faith on the earth? Will he find faith? So he's talking about when he comes back again, will he find faith? Will he find people of persistent prayer, enduring faith? Will he find it? Which begs the question, what has to happen for people to lose faith, to not be persistent, to not be steadfast? Which means it's possible for that to happen. And when you start putting these things together and you just look at life in general, our walk with God is hard. And then we see in 2 Thessalonians, the Apostle Paul is talking about the end times and the Thessalonian church, man, they were all freaked out about the second coming of Jesus and if they're going to miss it and if it already happened. So Paul's addressing this in 2 Thessalonians, his second letter to them. And he says in verse 3, no one is to deceive you in any way, for it being the second coming of Jesus, will not come unless the apostasy or the rebellion comes first. There's going to be a great rebellion. And so like this is interesting to me because I grew up in Pentecostal charismatic circles. And so for the last, I'm going to say 10, 15 years, attending a lot of conferences and hearing a lot of messages, there's always this talk about this great end times revival that's going to happen. In certain circles, they call it the billion soul harvest. There's going to be this massive move of God that's going to sweep the globe, sweep the earth, and so many people are going to, give their lives to Jesus. And we're seeing that in a lot of parts of the world. I mean, right now, just because it doesn't make headlines or make media, it doesn't mean it's not happening. When you look at the underground church and the persecuted church, those regions, the church is exploding. So it's happening, but it's going to sweep every continent. But then you see this text right here. And before the return of Jesus, there's a great falling away. So it's like this weird tension here that we're going to see, that we're going to be living in, perhaps, where so many people are going to meet Jesus for the first time. They're going to have an encounter. They're going to give him their lives. And then you're going to have so many people who were following Jesus who are going to turn away, who are going to fall away. Now, why do people fall away? Why are they going to fall away? And we look at our culture right now, and one aspect of this is just the whole deconstruction movement. People are literally falling away from Jesus. Not to go worship other gods, but falling away and believing that now God doesn't even exist. This push towards atheism is massive in recent years. Literally, thousands upon thousands of Christians are doing this. This is a great falling away, and we'll see it. But this is what Paul says: before the return of Jesus, there's going to be a massive apostasy, a massive rebellion. And so you put this together, this text, with Jesus saying, man, there's two roads. One's easy, it's going to lead to destruction. One's hard, very few people are going to find it. And you look at the state of our world, and you look at what people are struggling with and dealing with, and it's like, man, like we are living in what the scriptures have defined for us. It's happening. And so many people's faith is being challenged. And so this is where it's like you're going to see like how many people really are in love with Jesus, how many people really have a relationship with him, how strong people's faith really is. Because it's very easy. We are living in a day easy to be deceived. That's how a great falling away happens. 1 Timothy 4, he says this. 1 Timothy 4, it says, "But the Spirit explicitly says that in latter times some will fall away from the faith, paying attention to deceitful spirits and teachings of demons." And we're living in this right now. People are falling away because of nonsense teachings, garbage teachings, but they're deceptive, and they're demonic in nature, and they're just laced with enough truth to get people to take a bite at that apple. And you take one bite and you're done. It's like the Garden of Eden all over again. The serpent comes to Eve and tempts her to take a bite of the apple. Just causes enough doubt in there, enough confusion, enough deception, wraps it up in such a way where she's like, oh, okay. It just entices her just enough, takes the bite, boom, done. This is the times that we're in. And I see so many people walk away from God, walking away from Jesus. And my encouragement, the purpose for this video is if you're there and you're struggling, like, stay strong. Stay strong. Stay steadfast. Stay anchored in the word. Stay anchored to truth. In Galatians, Paul goes after the Galatian Christians because they started wavering in their belief of the gospel. He's like, who's bewitched you? Who's come in there and got you believing in something that you didn't believe at first? This is what we're seeing in the church with the whole rise of the alphabet movement that's infected the church. That's a whole other part where millions of Christians are being deceived into teaching and theology and beliefs that are anti-biblical, that are anti-God. Stay strong. Stay anchored in the truth that you believed at first. Don't fall for this modernized, culturized version of Jesus. I think Paul in 2 Corinthians, I believe it's chapter 11, he talks about a false Jesus, a false gospel, and a false Holy Spirit. There's so much churches and quote-unquote Christians out there preaching about a Jesus and a gospel and a Holy Spirit, but it's not the real Jesus. It's not the real gospel. It's not coming from the real Holy Spirit. So don't get caught up in this modernized version of Jesus. Stay anchored to what you believed in at first. Stay anchored in the true gospel. Stay strong. Don't give in. As hard as things may seem, as hard as things may get, as tempting as it may be, this is where I think the real church is going to, at least here, the other parts of the world where the persecuted church has been living this out for centuries. This is where it's going to be the Western world, where our cozy and comfortable Christianity is going to be tested, and we're going to see who's actually the real church here, who's actually real followers of Jesus. This is where we're headed. And so I encourage you, stay strong, stay anchored to Jesus. Don't give up, don't give in. Stay true to the gospel that you believed at first. Stay connected to like-minded Jesus followers. Stay connected to right community. This is where we got to encourage each other, build each other up, because man, we're seeing biblical prophecy unfold before our eyes. And there's no date setting, and I don't know when Jesus is coming back, but you just look at our world and you look at what the text says, and it's like you don't have to be a theologian scholar to understand that we're getting close. Like, stuff is happening. And so stay strong, stay connected, keep pursuing Jesus with everything. Don't give up, don't give in. Yeah. So let me know down below your thoughts, any questions, comments about what I've talked about here in this video. I'm praying for you. God's got you. Don't give up. Have an awesome rest of your day or evening, and we'll see you in the next video. Much love, and God bless.